ProDiesel or Pro Steering with us. And George Farmer is national sales rep for them. So he'll be explaining quite a bit, I think, technically about their products and explaining warranties and stuff like that. So George, go ahead, take it away, buddy.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity, and thanks, guys, for taking time out of your busy schedules and your evenings to have a conversation with us about ProDiesel and ProDiesel steering. Want to thank Rihm for stocking our product and getting that out there. I'd like to go over a couple of things today. Won't take a lot of your time, and I don't do death by PowerPoint, so we should survive that pretty well. But I wanted to cover some of our steering gears, some of the most common fixes that we have or situations we see during installation, and then a little bit about our product, the quality of the product, and why it's a premium option over what you see out there. And then we'll cover a couple of other little minor things, and we'll let you go. First of all, our steering gears are remanufactured right in Lebanon, Tennessee. So it's done right here in the good old US of A. When you call our customer support team, you will find there's over 150 years of experience there to help you get through the challenges you may have with identifying a gear, and we'll go over some of that today as well, and to try to understand how and what to do. First, I'd like to talk a little bit about one of the most important things, and I know you guys have up there in the Great White North, you guys have no problems at all with corrosion. So this powder coating thing, you guys don't even need to worry about. I mean, you wouldn't even have to cover them up there. But anyway, we powder coated ours back to the original specs. So you don't have to worry about corrosion and that kind of thing. Packaging, when we ship them to you, you'll notice they're in a neat and sturdy package. Who would think you put a gear in a white box? But we do, because we expect it to stay clean. Has a custom foam liner, and we put nylon plugs on there with a nitric O-ring, so it will not leak the fluid all over the place. Each one of these is tested, as you can see on this test bench, and I know it may look kind of small and it's a test bench, but the fact of the matter is I used to work at TRW, and they test theirs on a small test bench as well. They have to do these one at a time. You can't do a bunch of them at a time, so it takes a while. They take each one of the components in here, and they use high magnification cameras to look at the critical components for any structural integrity that may fail. Actually, 6.2% of our cores don't even pass inspection because they have some kind of small pinhole in them that they leak pressure. And guess what? Our competitors out there don't even check for that. So if you have all new seals and an all new piece and all new parts in it, and the housing itself is leaking because it's got small porous pieces in it, you're going to have a leaky gear, and you're going to go, why is it leaking? It's got brand new seals. We take care of that. We inspect that before we ever put them back together, and they're tested to meet OE specs. So you'll be right in the anything that you get from the OE, brand new, will be the same thing you get from us. One of the key program advantages that we have for you folks is we have the availability of all makes coverage. If we don't have that unit in stock, we can R&R. We have the parts and pieces. Most of the time, it's a housing issue, the core housing on the outside, that makes it difficult for us to find those cores. If you have a unit and you know it's going to be down, you can send it to us. We'll R&R it and get it back to you. It's normally about a week turnaround overall. We have our ProVantage warranty, which is the industry leading warranty. And this is a true premium product for you. This we have had one customer has purchased over 600 gears, and we have had only one failure out of those 600 gears. And it was a pinched internal seal that took about 3 months for it to wear through to where it would leak. But we just don't have many virtually no warranty at all on these. And the stop sign program, what we ask you guys to do when you either sell this or you're installing it, if there's a problem or seems to be a problem, before you take it off, before you take it back, please call us first. Let us go through some troubleshooting techniques. 95 to 99% of all the phone calls we get, we can fix over the phone without them becoming a warranty issue. And, no downtime for you and no extra labor for you and all the other stuff that goes with it. It's a great opportunity for you. Now, I talked about our ProDiesel warranty. I want to tell you what that really means. It's an 18-month, fault-free, unlimited mileage exchange over the counter. So when you walk up to Chad and his group, you go to take one off. If you do ever have a problem, which I rarely doubt that you will, you take it back to them. They'll give you one over the counter. We take care of all the warranty on the backside. No problems. Just exchange it over the counter and take off. The funny part about that is we'll start your 18 months back over. So if you're at 17 months and your gear fails, guess what? We'll give you a new one. And we don't care about it. We'll start all over with 18 months. Also, they are ISO 9001 certified, so you can guarantee that you're going to get a great product. Let's talk a little bit about coverage, okay? One gear sometimes can cover 3 different part numbers. As you can see, these 3 gears are all covered by the PMW unit. So instead of having to, Chad, instead of your team having to stock 3 gears, they can stock 1 gear and cover all those. Those are the kinds of things that Chad and his team have in his application guides that we've given them. You can also find that out if you call our team and you say, hey, I need this gear, we're going to be able to help you get the right gear that fits your unit. One of the things we do to help you how to ID a steering gear. We've got this little thing that we've sent to Chad and his team. And Chad, if you still don't have that email, let me know. I'll send this to you. It's a great way for your team to figure out how to ID the gear. You can, this will let you put customer's name in there, the part number if it's available. The traditional method of looking at these gears is to see the right here on the TRW, the part number is on the back side of the input shaft. It's on this back end here. And on the Shepherd, it's right above the output shaft. But through the application guide, about 90% of the time, you can get the model and year, and we can narrow it down to a really good close fit if you can't find the part number or you haven't gotten it off the truck yet. Okay. And we do have our application guide online as well, so that'll help some too. The thing that we find is when you're installing a gear, your truck's already down. Let's make sure we do everything right so we have the best success and a long-term life of the gear and the system. You should drain the fluid. You should flush the system with new and clean fluid, replace the filter, replace the pump. You know what I always like to say is that piece of material that was that probably broke in the pump or in the gear, that piece of metal went somewhere in that system. So take the time to replace any worn hoses as well. If you replace all of those things and clean that, the average life of a steering system is 7 years. That being said, if you get 7 years of no downtime because of the steering system, you've spent a little bit more money, but you've saved yourself a lot of downtime money. A couple of steps in the installation that make a lot of sense. This is where our number one problem falls when we get phone calls. It's in the bleeding of the system. Raise the front end of the truck and steer it from side to side completely until you see no more bubbles in the reservoir. Make sure you get all that air out of the system. Some gears, most of them now have an automatic bleeder on the top of them, and you'll have to look at the OE specs. You can check them out and see. Some of them actually need manually done, and our tech guide that we have online will also help you through that if you need some detail. I didn't want to go into here's the step, here's how it is. Just make sure you bleed the system first. That's the most really well before you do it. put it out on the street. Another step in the installation process that's very important is setting the poppet. So you get a full turn both directions. And the poppet, what it does is it decreases the pressure just before it gets to a point where your turn stops, where it hits the dead stop. It's got a little pressure relief there. That's what the poppet does. So most gears are, the poppets will set automatically. You may have to check to make sure you have full travel or full stop from stop to stop when you put it in. And you may actually need to manually set those, and that can be done as well. And you, again, refer to the OE specs, or you can look at our tech guide as well. And Chad, if you'd like for me to send you an electronic version of the tech guide so you guys have it, we can be more than happy to do that for you as well. And here's the thing, if you're running a repair shop or you're working at a repair shop and you really like, why do I need to replace steering gears? Well, think about it this way. There's just in class 7 and 8, and we do class 3 through 8. There's over 4 million class 7 and 8s on the road today. The average life expectancy is 6 to 7 years. That means there's 615,000 steering gear events a year. That's McKay data that I know for a fact that I got when I worked at TRW. It got stuck in here and I couldn't get it out. So the key is if you're not replacing them and you're not taking the time to replace them, someone else is, and you're missing out on money, or you're including more downtime in your fleet. So the other part of our business that Chad and I talked about is I'll go into a little bit about injection. Won't talk a lot about it. Just want to let you know a little bit about the other side of our business. We're the largest aftermarket remanufacturer of injectors in the country. We've been doing this for over 60 years. You don't make it in the injection business that long without being really good at what you do. Availability, we have class 1 through 8. We're priced lower than most of and I should have taken that out, but most of the OEs, which would make sense, a Cummins or a Cat or, we are lower priced than that. Even through Chad, you'll get there. And 2,500 part numbers or more right now with the availability. We have a flexible core return policy. We don't care if the tip's blown. We don't care if the springs are blown. We don't care if the wires are pulled out of the top. We need the body of that core. We're not going to ding you for a core charge coming back. And again, you have an 18-month fault-free ProVantage warranty. A little bit about what we do. We test each and every injector. Each one has to meet OE specs. This is a picture of what we do with our test bench. It goes 18 to 23 different parameters. Every unit is tested, and we also say we tested 110%. Out of every 100 that we've tested, a manager goes back through, tests it again, and pulls 10 more out and tests them again to make sure that one, the technician was doing it right, two, the test bench is working correctly, and three, that randomly that our tests still match OE specs. And 65% of every injector you get from us, 65% of that injector is going to be new parts. So we don't just flush and fill, we actually remanufacture these injectors. And gathering information is pretty simple. Caterpillar, I won't read those to you. You can look at those. You need the CPL numbers or the engine serial numbers, and we can get straight from there. And our part numbers are not real difficult. What we do is we use the OE's part number with an R on the end of it. So if you know what the part number is, it's pretty easy. Add an R and we've got you. I guess at that point, I'd open it up for questions and discussion. I don't really have anything else in that. It was steering gear is not real complicated. If you bleed the system, you kind of got it done.
I know a couple quick little questions. When you guys are when you rebuild a steering gear, where do you source your components like seals internally and stuff like that?
They're made here in the United States.
Okay.
And actually most of the time we get them from the exact same place that they always get their seals.
All right. Let's see here. Warranty on the steering gears. Do you guys cover labor?
If how that works, and it works the same way with our injectors, and that is if you have a problem with the steering gear and the steering gear fails and there's labor involved and you send us the steering gear, go ahead and swap it out. Chad, you guys will go ahead and swap them out and give them another gear. The only debate would be whether it would be warranted with labor. What we do is we bring that steering gear or those injectors back in and we test them. If anything fails and there's a problem with the gear or there's a problem with the injector and it fails spec, then we will pay the labor. If there's nothing wrong with it, we've gotten injectors back that people and steering gears back that people said there was something wrong with it. We put it on a test bench and it works perfectly. Well, that was probably a bleeding situation that caused the issue. So if there's a problem with our product, we will back it and pay labor.
Okay. So you mentioned that there's one part number that covers 3 different gears.
Yes.
How is it something the manufacturer just manufactured the same and they switch part numbers, or how does that work?
Some of them were seals. Some of them they updated the seals, or some of them it's the most of those are Navistar, and Navistar had a little bit of difference in some minor internal components that didn't make a difference in the way that the gear worked or fit or did anything else. And they just upgraded it and did it differently. You'll find that in a lot of TRW gears, because TRW, instead of a Shepherd gear, TRW gears, they would make a different part number, even though it's the same gear for PACCAR. The same gear goes on a Freightliner, same gear goes on a Volvo, but they'd have different part numbers. So we just give you one part number that fits all 3.
Gotcha. See, there is a couple more here. What's the turnaround on, do you guys actually do a exchange on injectors, or is it just all stock?
All stock, and we can actually do a check and advise. So if you've got 6 and you're not sure which ones you're rebuilding an engine and you don't know which ones you need to replace and which ones you don't, you can send them to us. We'll do a check and advise on them. If there's, and it's about a $90 to $100 fee to check each one. If you find a bad one, we'll sell you a new one and won't charge you the exchange fee. I mean, the check and advise fee. All of the injectors are in stock. We do some R&R on those as well when we don't have the core available. There are some that are very hard to find the cores for, but we're always in the market for looking for more cores.
If you did have to do an R&R, what would that timeline be?
It's normally 3 to 4 days once it hits our door.
Okay. I think
So
you're
we
2
can turn
days
it.
from us,
So, you ship them to us overnight, 2-3 days, max, probably. We'll ship them back to you.
Okay. Do you guys sell 6-packs on injectors at all?
We'll sell you 6, we'll sell you 24, we'll sell you 100. I don't care. I'll sell you thousands. I like it.
No package 6-packs, so
No, there's not a
discount.
No, there's not a discount on 6-packs. We're priced competitively to where it's not an issue.
And I'm pretty sure I know we can order together steering gears and injectors, correct?
Correct.
For our stock.
Yep.
And then I see.
The good thing about injectors is if you do have to do them overnight, they're not so heavy that it doesn't cost you a lot of freight.
Yeah. Did you go over your most common failure on injectors?
I did not. Most common failures, 65% of everything. So with our Provantage warranty, what we do is we test everything when it comes back into the shop to see what fails most likely. What's the most likely failure point? Because we're always trying to improve what we do. 65% of everything we get back in the shop is not our fault. There's nothing wrong with the injector other than it's either contaminated, it has a cut O-ring, or it was improperly diagnosed that there was nothing wrong with the injector. We test them, we put new O-rings on them, we clean them off, and we run them through the test machine to get test bench. And they're either contaminated. So 65% of everything we get back, we didn't ask any questions. We've already given you another injector. We're okay with that. So the reason I state that, and thanks, Chad, for bringing that up, is we have an average of 1.4% failure rate on our injectors. That means out of 100 injectors, 1.4 injectors will fail. So that actually have an issue. That being the case, I'm okay with that number, by the way, on injectors. What we do find is that people immediately, because they swapped out injectors, think that the second set of injectors work, so that must have fixed the problem, and it must have been the injector to begin with. Like if they go to turn in the first set of warranty. Remember, 65% of those are not our fault. They're probably contaminated or something else. So what I would tell you in this, and it's very important that when you're changing injectors, filtration, and clean. 65% of the 65% that we get, 2/3 of everything we get back is due to contamination. So either the lines weren't clean, they didn't flush the system, they didn't put new filters in, their hands were dirty. The common rail injectors that are out there now have a 5-micron tip. It takes 20,000 microns to equal an inch. 5 microns is a piece of dust. If you get dust on your hands, if you've got dirt on your hands, if you take that injector out of the plastic wrapper and lay it down anywhere, but inside the cylinder where it goes, you've already contaminated it. Call it a done day, pull it back out and do it again.
That was interesting when you told me that. That's why I wanted to bring that up. So I appreciate that.
Problem.
I don't think I have any more questions, and I don't see anything else coming in here. So with that, I guess I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. Appreciate it. Hopefully it was informational. Appreciate George, you coming on and doing this for us.
No problem. Thank you very much for allowing me to come.
Been a really good product for us so far. We've had really good luck. 0 warranties, just so you know, so far. But yeah, we're stocking in most stores. I should say all stores, just whether we have the exact one. I think we're stocking right now right around the top 15 numbers in the country. So, and that'll be expanding here shortly. Injectors right now, we are ordering in injectors when need be. We're not stocking any. That is something we're working on. So if you need an injector, we'd have to order it in for you, but we can get them pretty quick. More question looks like came in here.
Probably get them overnight. We normally have them in stock. So
perfect. Greg Swedlin wants us to get the top 30 apparently. So amazing.
Way to go, Swed.
So with that, I want to thank everybody for coming out. Our next Let's Talk shop will be February 16th. Not quite set on a time yet, but please watch for that. We'll get the invite sent out. And I want to thank everybody for showing up. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you.